So, what's everybody been doing?
What's everybody been doing?
What did
They said hello. And they're waving in little smiley faces.
our dog is in the room because he hates thunderstorms, and so he refuses to be out of the room.
He has to be by me. Everybody's waving,
Oh, hello.
giving you smiley faces. Right stuff design. Draw fucking happy trees. Whoa.
Happy trees?
Happy trees.
I think they're all happy.
All trees are happy.
Except for the ones that are possessed by ancient spirits of the dead.
It's been a good year since I've been following your feeds. I'm glad your videos have inspired me, and now I'm manifested getting freelance.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Hello, I've been drawing a watercolor painting, Joe Beth says.
Oh, that's cool.
Ely says hi.
Who?
Ely 24 downtown.
Hmm.
Happy trees. Hello, I'm a big fan. Greetings from Brazil.
Oh, hello. Hello, Brazil.
The next Bob Ross. I don't think so.
Nobody can ever repeat. Bob Ross was a unique individual.
He was a unique individual.
And unique, like Mr. Rogers.
He is like
unique
Mr.
beings.
Rogers. What is some advice? I think I got this. There was a mistake.
Huh?
What's some advice to give to a traditional graphite artist who is trying to move to fit digital? I think digital drawing. I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, if that's what the question is, when I draw digitally, I find it a little bit disconcerting because all of the surfaces feel the same. It's kind of smooth. Even the textural, the surface of like the Cintiq, which has a little bit of texture to it, you know, everything feels the same. There's not as much response to the medium, the paper. So you just have to me, you have to find, the way that I kind of go around that is you have to find different ways to bring that into the drawing. You have to just do it visually. So I have like paper textures that I'll lay down first, you know, stuff that I've, like even sheets of paper that I've scanned in, or graphite fields that I've made already. Mm-hmm. There's a guy online, Grut Brush, that has G-R-U-T, who has all these really nice natural media background textures you can work in Photoshop. And I would say jump on those too, because to me they're worth the money, because it feels like you're working on a natural media, because visually it looks like you are.
So they're not just white from the screen.
Right. It should be able to transfer a lot. I mean, obviously, you know, even when you're doing like with a Cintiq or with a tablet, when you draw with the side of the pencil, it doesn't feel the same. Because, you know, I have a lot of lead exposed here, and I can change that by moving it. With that, it doesn't do the same. It doesn't make the same kind of mark.
So how do you think? So what you're gonna bring in something that gives you that texture, right?
Right. Or, you just have to figure out. There are a lot of ways to do that. I mean, you can. I've seen I think his name is if I pronounce it correctly, Oscar Ciccone, who used to do everything in pastel, went to digital, and I think what he does is he makes good use of the dissolve feature in some of the layers when you draw with the dissolve turned on, instead of just, you know, you can have a layer be multiply or difference or whatever, but you can do the same thing with the individual drawing tools up in the I guess it's around the tool preset menu somewhere up there, where you can turn it on to dissolve and play with how much granularity shows up in the image.
You said it was Grut Brush is where you bought
Grut, yeah, Grut Brush. If you Google Grut Brush, you'll be taken to
GRUTBRUSH.
Yeah, he has a lot of good actual Photoshop brushes too that are worth having.
So yeah, I saw online, because I know everybody's asked. There's a bunch of questions flying at me, guys. Just but staying on the subject, I saw someone else was asking, not you specifically, but I saw a thread where they were like, how do you create your own brushes in Photoshop? But I knew that you will go and you'll just buy, someone will have like brush bundles, right?
Yeah, I've bought a lot of brushes to bounce off of to start, and but it's actually, you know, there's a lot to creating some of the more sophisticated brushes. You can make simple brushes pretty easy. But they're definitely.
So how much is like a bundle of brushes?
They can be anywhere from, you can find a lot of them for free, anywhere up to, you know, like some of the bigger packs of brushes might be, 10 to 20 to $30. They're usually not terribly expensive, and you can usually find like natural media brushes for a couple bucks somewhere. Like if you go onto Gumroad, you probably find a ton of those there, and if you're on ArtStation, go to the marketplace. There's just a ton of them out there. And essentially, it's trial and error, just finding the ones you like and seeing which ones feel like natural media to you. I think his name is, there's an artist named Solyev who has all of these textural brushes that are really good on Gumroad, and they're made for like drawing white onto black background usually.
White onto black.
Yeah. And he's another one that I picked up the brushes.
All right, I'm gonna back up here and see if I.
The only brushes I've ever made for myself have been more or less shaped brushes, or things like chain link brushes and things like that, where you can just alter the repeating patterns and things. So I'm hearing some thunder in the distance.
Yeah, this thunder. That's it. Any tips on how to stay motivated? Someone else asked about how to keep it all going with being busy in life.
Stay motivated. Well, that's a difficult question in a lot of ways, because it usually is really dependent on what you have going in your own specific life. Because for a lot of people, staying motivated is simply the aspect that if you don't stay motivated, you don't get paid and you don't make a living doing it.
Right.
And I'm not trying to simplify it or make fun of people who are asking the question by saying that. I'm just saying that
if we don't,
if I don't do it, then I don't make money doing it, and so I stay motivated personally because I have a lot of stuff that I haven't gotten to yet that I want to do, and I like to continuously to work. I sort of I mentioned this in I think an article we did recently, where I like doing the work. I like sitting down and working. It's a form of kind of meditation for me, and it definitely does become work at different times depending on what I'm doing. But when I'm not motivated to do something, sometimes I'll just let myself play for a little bit with something else to get going, and just to get myself started. But it usually I try not to take jobs anymore that I'm not really kind of into doing. That I'm not already motivated to do because of the nature of what it is. What do you?
Oh, I was going to hand her this.
Oh.
Do you make thumbnails before a final drawing?
I have, but I don't do it routinely. Just like I started this from a particular point.
Then there's points.
Well, actually, I started it right around the eye. And that's a thing too that I would mention too, is like I don't really ever start drawings. I don't start drawings the same way twice, like in a row. Like I will start drawings with an eye, but I usually will switch up the next time and then start at a different place if I'm doing it like this, because I don't want to just design around a certain element every time, because then you end up with a lot of drawings that are very similar. But the reason I'm doing it like this for the video is because I can get an outcome where I'm a little more secure in what I'm doing online right now. So I'm starting it in a way that I'm familiar with.
Right.
But there are times when I'll start with some random feature, or I might even start with a just almost gestural lines for compositional elements and stuff like that. I don't do that often. Sometimes I will if I have a real definite idea and I want to remind myself this is the direction I want to go in. But especially in contract work, where I do start with more gestural drawings to try to figure things out from that point on. So.
How do you keep new ideas coming? I struggle with that, and it's so discouraging. Greetings from Chile. Love your work.
Thank you for saying that, for one thing. To me, the key to keeping new ideas coming is to realize that you're sort of iterating the world around you anyway. So the ideas don't necessarily have to be groundbreaking. You can take an idea that you've had before and do a variation of that. And in doing a variation of that, you'll be led to a new idea from that. And that actually is what happens most of the time with me, is when I decide I want to start playing with an old idea, I get about a tenth of the way into it and it turns into something new.
Yeah.
You know, also doing just simply repeating an idea. That's pretty much the way abstraction is born anyway, because when you repeat an idea, you change it. Unless of course you're like a hyper photorealist, but repetition breeds abstraction, is what they said in art history, which is why the more you repeat an image, like even this guy who's kind of a fawn satyr kind of guy, repeating this image over and over again will encourage it to stylize.
Oh, right.
And then as it stylizes, it becomes more and more abstract. And then as it becomes more abstract, it starts to look almost like a different style. If I did this image 10 times in a row, at the beginning it would look like a natural drawing. At the end, it would look like a formal design.
Right. Someone asked, have you ever microdosed on psychedelics and drawn?
I have not, unless enough caffeine can be considered a
It is
psychedelic.
not a psychedelic. Well, maybe by the way you make it, because you let me have a sip.
I make
beforehand.
very,
was
very
like,
strong
oh,
coffee.
God. There are times that I go, why did I ever show you how to drink coffee?
I do have.
Someone asked, this is a Tombow Mono 100 pencil. I'm sorry, someone asked that earlier.
6B.
6B, Tombow Mono 100. 6Bs are your go-to, right?
Yep. That tends to be the hardness of lead that I like to use the most.
Yeah, now both dogs are in here.
Yeah.
One just because how old were you when you started doing art? Love from Saudi Arabia.
Oh, thank you very much. I started drawing like most kids did when I could pick up a pencil around, I guess around 3-4 years old. And most of my drawing at that time looked like everybody else's did, It didn't really start changing until, I don't know, in high school maybe. A little after high school when I got into college, and I was in college for a couple of years. I went to a community college at first. It had an art teacher there that was really he was a really good teacher. That was actually the first time I had really art classes. Was when I got into college, so I didn't have any real training up till then. And he's the one that sort of got me into experimenting with things, pretty quickly, because his strategy was, he would hand you a new tool. So you would pick up a new tool, and he would say, "Don't worry about being representational. The first 2 or 3 pieces you do, just make something like weird abstract shapes, just to get used to handling it."
Right.
And so we did that with a lot. Like we would do that with whatever it was. Like I had never used colored pencils before I got into college. I'd only ever drawn with a regular pencil. I'd never even picked up a pen, like for pen and ink.
Yeah. Well, IMEX Japan says, hello, sir. Alan and Vicky from the Philippines.
Oh, hello.
And someone else asked, when did you realize you wanted to pursue art as a career?
As soon as I found out that it was possible. And that's a weird thing to say, but it never occurred to me in high school that people did it for a living, even though I had books where people's names were listed as the artist. It just never made that connection that it was something that I could do until I got into, again, that 2-year college, and I met the teacher, whose name was Ted Lanham, by the way, and he kind of educated me to the fact that there was a whole world of people out there making their way doing artwork, whether they were artists, whether they were doing whether they were doing like fine art or commercial art, or whatever distinction you want to make between those two, some form of art. And it just had never occurred to me because it was never presented as an opportunity from like the counselors in my school. They didn't have any idea what that was.
Right. Well, Doom Soup asked this too. Do you have a regular job or do you live off your art?
This is it. This is
it. You have usually you take there's a.
The dog cannot get closer to me than he is.
No, he is underneath your feet.
My regular job, you could say, is when I do contract and commercial work and concept work for film.
Right, and you do that for maybe a couple months a year, and then you work on your fine art,
Right.
and then sometimes we go to shows.
Right.
So we'd only do maybe 3 shows a year, though. So and I work with Alan, and I quit my job in 1998. So
Right.
for the last 21 years, this is all I've done.
Since I started doing it professionally, it's all I've done, in one form or another, whether it's contract work, personal work, gallery work,
Right.
or movie concept stuff.
Sarah Beth 336 asks, what were your first things you liked to draw and love from South Africa?
Okay, Oh, thank you, South Hathaway. That's cool. The first things I have any example of myself drawing were actually monsters.
I know.
And it was I used to draw them in, like, I'd make a birthday cards for my mother when I was really young, and I've been drawing monsters since the day I started drawing, basically monsters, and also dinosaurs, which as a kid are monsters. Those are, you kind of feel like those are monsters too. Back then, anyway.
How much time did you spend drawing this right here? You started at 9 o'clock. So
Yeah.
what time is it? 20 minutes.
20 minutes so far.
20 minutes, a little less. Pencil Pet says, I tried your suggestion to use matte medium to get rid of the graphite shine, and it worked great.
Oh,
Wonderful
good.
tip. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad it did work.
I think they think that you microdose or snort something because your allergies.
Oh, I do have allergies, by the way. If I'm sniffling, yeah.
It's just sniffling. It has nothing to do with he's
Yeah.
not doing anything else. Sorry.
I don't-
It's
I don't-
just comes straight from his brain.
I don't make the kind of disposable income one needs to indulge in cocaine.
No, we don't know exactly. No, we're pretty boring that way.
I would actually kind of hate to see what I would be on
No, we don't need that.
on a drug like that. Although, I've heard some pretty interesting stories about people who have done like some of the more like DMT and things like that, and the things that they've experienced. They seem, at least in terms of their own narrative, seem pretty interesting.
Yes. Is there a schedule for live videos? We do live videos at 9 o'clock on Saturday. Last week was
Your birthday.
my birthday. Oh my God.
Oh,
The dog just,
the
hold
dog
on.
just knocked over your teeth. I got it. And that was the coffee cup.
And that was the coffee cup.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
That'll be sitting there for a while.
Just a moment. Hold on.
Our dog is terrified of thunder,
Apparently.
and so he just panicked under my desk when he heard thunder.
Panicked and bumped your tea off. Or my tea and your coffee.
Yep.
You have shoes on, right?
I'm not going to be getting up for a while. So.
Okay. So our live videos are every Saturday, but this past Sunday, it was my birthday, and we were tired, and then we did the one before that, I believe, and then we were away at a painting retreat, so
Yep.
we didn't hit the two before that. So, but we should hit every Saturday now.
Yeah, for a while.
Yes.
Yep.
So, at 9 o'clock Chicago time.
So the person who asked how long I'd been drawing this earlier, also she should know that I've drawn this particular kind of character before, so there is a little bit of there's a little bit of experience in the shapes and stuff that are bound. It's not a completely unknown theme to me,
Sorry, I just got to block someone because they won't stop being stupid.
Okay. What was it about?
Nothing. They're just putting up emojis.
Oh. It's just, it's like 1,000 emojis in a
I
row.
know.
What the hell? All right, whatever. But maybe they only communicate in emoji.
I don't know. Could be. What is the most important advice that you can give an intermediate artist? You're awesome.
And thank you very much. That, again, it's like that's a difficult question to answer without knowing the person personally. But intermediate wise, I would say that that I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. My general response is don't wait to do the kind of artwork that you want to do until you feel like you're ready to do it. Start trying to do it now, and let yourself be comfortable not getting quite to where you want to go. Like let yourself do the bad drawings to get to the good drawings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Don't get too frustrated with the middle ground when things don't look right, because that's just a stage.
And then Mood by Randy asked, do you think you can improve any more at this point?
Always, constantly, and in what the thing is that I feel like there's a thing, and when you're working out, where in order to get better at one thing, people will start cross training so that they switch their mind up and do other things.
Yeah.
So whenever I go and start to do things like in ZBrush, I come back to drawing, and it informs how I draw it from that point on. It actually, everything I've learned in other media tend to come back and help me in whichever media I happen to be working in. And so I kind of like to bounce back and forth between different things. And there are definitely areas in drawing that I haven't really gone that far into exploration yet. Like I could go very abstract, or I could get very gestural and start doing more gesture, there's always a place to go, or some area of a division of whatever you're doing that you have something you could still learn, and I don't think it ever stops.
Wow.
Even if it's something that like people can't see the difference, might make a difference to you, you know.
Right.
Um,
But it definitely makes a difference to you because
Yeah.
you will often say that. You go, look what I did, and I go, cool.
Especially since
Cool.
I get so into things sometimes
Ooh.
that things will happen in the work that I'm doing that I don't remember how I did it. So it's
that
almost
is-
like my poor memory allows me to continuously learn.
Your poor memory lets you learn.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The snorting comment, I misinterpreted it.
Oh.
He said he meant the monster he's drawing looks like it makes snorting noises.
Okay.
I always thought he was talking about you because you're
Because I'm sniffling a little
because
bit.
you're sniffling.
I do have allergies right now. But.
Ruby the Painter says, forget Netflix on Saturdays. This will be the best live I will be looking forward to. Your
Oh.
art is extraordinary, and greetings from the Philippines.
Oh, thank you so much. We'll try to do it as regularly as we can, you know.
What is your relationship with self-criticism?
That's interesting because I am constantly assessing what I'm doing and grading it. So when you say self-criticism, I don't feel like I don't know. The term may sound negative, but yeah, I do that a lot. I do self-criticize in the sense that I self-critique. I'll look at something and go, "This is where it fails." Or to myself,
Right,
I will
but-
look at something and go, "This is what I like about it, but this is where I wish I had done something better." And I do that in every piece at every stage because, for one thing, there's so much to think about when you're doing a piece of work that you may overlook something because you get very myopic. You know, you only can see what you're looking to get out of it, and then you might step over something that you go, I completely forgot about the structure that this needed over here.
Right.
And so it fell short there or something. You know, there's probably, just like there's always something to learn, there's probably in my mind, there's always something I could have done a little bit better or fixed or addressed a little more straightforward or made more clear. You know, or maybe I should have been a more gestural, you know. But I feel like my relationship with my own inner critic is healthy in that I will allow myself to go, I liked what I did here, but I don't like what I did over here, so I'm going to move on to the next piece, which since I'm continuously working, one of my motivational factors that were asked about earlier is that I kind of always want to go back and go into another piece and bring forward what I've done so far and into that piece, you know. But yeah, I do constantly have my inner critique going on.
Right.
I don't think I ever want to give that up to say I can't see myself ever going, oh, here's the piece I did and I feel that it is perfect. You know, that just,
No.
I don't feel like that will ever happen.
You might have like a day or two that you love
Well,
it, and you.
To be honest, I'm going to say that this might sound weird, but I don't see that in anybody's work, though. I don't look at any artist throughout history and go, this is perfect. I don't know what the artist was going for. Just because I look at it and go, I don't see a problem with it, doesn't mean I see the same piece of art that the artist saw when he did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And perfect doesn't really mean anything anyway, right?
Right.
I can say that I love certain pieces of art, but I think it's a healthy thing if you get to a point where you look at someone's work that you love and you can start to also see things about it that maybe you don't like as an artist that you would do differently because you're a different kind of person.
Right.
You know? I think that's also a good place to be, you know. But anyway,
Yes.
that was a rambling answer, I think. But
That's okay. Are you videoing this with a handheld camera? Yes, this I'm using my. No.
This camera is a phone.
Yes.
And then the one that's up there is a Brio 4K that we're recording it for the
Right.
Patreon feed and the YouTube channel
Right.
as well. So,
Someone asked, "Do we ever do art together?"
Vicky is a good sounding board. What?
No. Well, I was laughing because I'm like,
I mean, she doesn't like usually physically. I mean, other than she does the framing and matting,
Do
which
the
is
matting
is
frame.
definitely a part of it because a good frame can really make a piece sing or it can diminish the impact of a piece. Vicky has a degree in interior design, and she actually has a really great eye for such things. And I've seen her draw before too, which she can do when she wants to.
how is pencil grip important?
So people have asked about grip before in terms of carpal tunnel and things like that. And but if you're talking about how you grip the pencil in terms of laying down a mark, it just depends on what you get comfortable and fluid with. I guess there's actual names for different ways of gripping a pencil. I saw this online the other day. I mean there were like
I believe you.
there are actual like there's like tripod names and things like that they use for.
I was gonna say
So-
the second grader is mine.
Well, I mean, there are
That's how
people.
I grab
I've
a
seen
pencil.
I've seen people do it down all the way down here, and they mark like it doesn't. As long as you're fluid with it and comfortable with it, it doesn't matter, right? I draw from the side a lot, like this, because I get a broader stroke and I can see the tooth of the paper more. But
It's 9:30. We've been going at it almost a half an hour.
it goes by quick.
I know. Our website is at AllenWillliams Studio. This will be here on the live feed for the next 24 hours after we clean up all the coffee.
Oh,
and
I've
tea
got
all
a
over
broken
the floor.
coffee mug that the dog is now sleeping in.
Oh, the coffee cup. And then we'll go up on the Patreon, which is at patreon.com/AllenWilliams. Then we'll go up on our YouTube after about a week or so. You can just follow us on Patreon, or you can can subscribe, or you can just follow us on YouTube if you want. And our YouTube channel is at Allen Williams Studio. We also have Twitter that I occasionally throw stuff up on.
And we keep threatening to start using Twitch. Our Twitch,
I know.
but we
yes.
haven't yet. So
We haven't yet, which is I just draw also.
that's actually kind of one of the
Might be
reasons.
I_just draw.
That's why when we got the 4K camera was because we were going to start the Twitch thing, but we just
We
haven't.
can do that.
We've been on that. Okay, we have it now, but we're like, okay, we're too used to doing it this way to start something new yet. So,
Let's do it this week.
oh, we might. We could. Well, we
Like,
could,
oh
not
my
during the
God.
week. I've got too much. I got a lot of stuff to get done.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Thank you. Such good advice. Thank you from Vancouver.
Oh, you're very welcome. Vancouver gets a lot of film and movie work, so I'd be surprised if.
Have you heard of the artist Kim Junji?
Oh, of course, yes, I met him. He's a really nice guy.
He's a sweetheart.
Actually, I talked to him briefly online about the kind of cameras that he uses because he has a video camera that will record and stream at the same moment, which is this one will do that too, but his is like a more expensive setup.
Yeah.
So we've traded artwork before.
How did the coffee get over there?
Well, probably the dog walked through it. He's really a nice guy.
Oh, Kim Junji.
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
What are you doing?
I don't know. He is laying in the coffee.
He's laying down there panting right now
Oh.
because he's so terrified of thunder.
I knew. Poor
It's
Izzy.
probably because of they hear it differently. I always wondered if the
other
dogs
dog-
that are afraid
the
of
other
thunder.
dog doesn't care.
Yeah, no, but the ones who are afraid of it, I wonder if it gives them sort of this feeling that the world is growling at them or something from outside because it must sound much different to them.
Oh no, we're not ending the stream. No, I just like to put our plug in there where you can find us normally.
We're
If you don't
usually on
find us
till
here.
a little like around 10.
Just about. You can only go for an hour here, so.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, Twitch you can go for hours, but that's a lot.
I'd be afraid I would forget the camera and just like start singing or doing things that were like super embarrassing
Yes,
or dancing.
you're not going to dance.
I dance.
Well, that's true. It's the only
I-
reason I went
I-
out with
I-
you is because I saw you dancing.
Do the thing they say, dance when nobody's looking or dance like nobody's looking. One of the others. I don't know. I do both.
And do you ever do collaborative artwork with tattoo artists?
Not in a direct way. I haven't done that yet. What I have done is have tattoo artists have contacted me about using work that I've done, and like for somebody who came in and wanted the tattoo of it. In that way, I've done that. If that's what you mean. But yeah, there's a lot of beautiful tattoo work out there. In fact, I mean, if you go on our Instagram and look at some of the people we follow, there's quite a few tattoo artists that they follow on Instagram because some of the work is really beautiful. I follow a lot of people on Instagram, but
Yeah. I love how he's scared of thunder yet is unbothered by the sharp glass.
well, he would sleep on sharp glass if it were close to us when it was thunder, which is
Yes.
kind of what he's doing now, I guess.
It's been threatening to rain for the last 2 days. I smell like smoke now. Campfire smoke.
You went because you went to the birthday party.
Yes, does my hair smell like smoke?
Yeah, and hair.
Hair. My hair doesn't smell.
It's
smells like campfire smoke. I was out at the beach.
And head skin.
Oh. I love you. I love you. So I love you.
I love thunderstorms, by the way.
I do.
It's like, as much as our dog hates them, I love them.
I do. His memory bank is amazing. Kim Jaji is talking about it. How do you train your memory? Just repetition? I've been drawing from photographs for a while now, and I'm scared to draw from memory.
Okay, one of the things I noticed, because I was kind of looking at what he did too, and there is just no escaping the fact that he has a particular skill in that regard. But one of the things that he does, I think, that helps is that fisheye lens perspective that he puts on things. So you don't have to have perfect perspective. You just have to have a general knowledge of it. And then he kind of imposes that spherical fisheye view to things. I think he could draw whatever he wants. By the way, I'm not saying it's any kind of trick I just think that.
No, he's like.
Yeah, I think he
good.
just can do it. And well, I mean, I think it's definite. It's definite skill that he's probably been practicing for a very long time.
Right.
Probably way before we ever became aware of him. He was practicing this particular way of drawing things.
What's wild is when you.
But.
Just watch it. I don't know.
But I mean,
you look at him and you watch him draw, and you're like, it's like magic.
Well, I mean, a lot.
Sorry, I'm doing what other people do that I do. It's not
the thing
magic.
is that there are a lot of. I've noticed a lot of. There are a lot of comic book artists out there that you love that can sit down and they can draw an entire city scene on the spot without reference because they've been doing it for so long. And I mean, part of his thing is that he can sit there and fill an entire board. It's almost like one of the crucial parts of his art is that it's also performance art. That he can sit down and do it, on the spot, anytime. He comes up with anything, and I mean,
it all fits.
And it fits together because of his particular way of laying it down on the paper, right?
Right.
It looks kind of almost impossible to do in a lot of ways until you've drawn one or two things enough that you can start doing it for yourself. And it definitely, like I said, there's definitely a kind of a hidden skill there that maybe just like everybody has like a physiological thing, like one of my kids can take their finger and fold it all the way back, right? Which I used to be able to do, and not everybody can do that, right? So he might have just a predisposition to being able to have a visual library that he can pull on anytime, as part of his genetic makeup or something.
Do you think
I don't
you
know.
can train that?
I think you can train some of it, right? Depends, because you can train a sense of design, or you can bring out a sense of design. I'm not sure if you can ever give somebody a sense of design, but you certainly reveal their sense of design through training, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can train people to make photorealistic, like academic drawings like they do in ateliers. That's the whole point of an atelier, is that they can teach you how to draw like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if, as long as you kind of go through the process, you can learn certain things. How they, what you do with it though, that's not something people teach you. Like how your personal aesthetic.
How he fits
and how he fits things together is just based on the way that his mind works.
Right.
And I don't. If you're asking, I mean, I don't know if there was a question there, but I don't think there's a trick. I think that he's done it a long time, and it's just something that he has the ability to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Oops. It's turning out great. God bless the both of you. Thanks for being down to earth and humble.
Oh, well.
Do you consider yourself a surrealist? How do you decide what to work on?
I got into this discussion with a guy once when I was in California who said that unless I was born during the time of surrealism, that I wouldn't be able to ever call myself an actual surrealist. And I'm not really sure what to make of what I do sometimes. I know I get kind of categorized in dark arts and stuff a lot, even though the narrative behind a lot of what I do is very much different than a lot of the dark art stuff that I see. But I can see how the components of it, because I use a lot of mortal structure, I guess you would say, and images of things in decay and fantasy. I guess the imaginative realism is closer. It's I don't really know that I'm falling in a like distinctive category. I think of myself as more cross
Right.
genre
Right.
in a lot of ways. But I don't really think about it that much at all. I mean, I don't really think about categorizing myself that much. It helps when you're, trying to find what kind of gallery to put your work up in or where you want to show your work.
Right.
So I tend to look for places that sort of use the same aesthetic kind of components that like we show with Capro Nason in Santa Monica a lot, and I tend to fit in with their body of shows that they have. But in terms of being a surrealist, I'm not sure that I would say that I would fit a surrealism, even if I did live back there, because a lot of my stuff has more narrative, I think, than that. Although I think the metaphor probably is similar in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. How long does it take to reach the drawing level, like your drawing level, like you?
Well, I mean, that's I think if you were like super aggressive in learning, it depends on you. I've been doing this since I was, like I said, a kid, but professionally since 1988, and I'm 53 years old. I feel like I've gone further in the last 15 years than I did in the years before that, though.
Right.
So I feel like I had to get to a point where I could see better and had a better idea of what I wanted, and then things started moving faster. So it just depends on, how long it takes you to get to the point where you see yourself in the work. I guess that makes sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
So I actually didn't really feel like I developed a distinctive style until I did the thing that usually they tell you not to do, where they say, don't worry about style, just work, and then it'll eventually come out. I felt like I didn't actually find what I wanted to do until I actively, aggressively started looking for it.
Right.
When I started paying attention to the things that I paid attention to and collected, and I said to myself, what is it about this that I like? Is this something I want to bring into my own work?
Right. You could.
And why do I like it? It's like when you learn that essentially photography is an artist they're spending enough time to look at what distracts them. So if something distracts me, it's usually I have to look at it and go, why am I distracted by that image? It's either because something I like in it or something that bothers me about it,
Right.
especially in my own work. So sometimes it takes a while if I look at something and go, I keep going back to that area. Why is my eye going there? And it's either because it's working really well or it's not working very well. Those two reasons.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes they don't resolve which one is the answer right away.
No, really.
So yeah, sometimes it takes a while, and I'll keep going back to, and sometimes it's just because I'm aware that there's something there that needs to be changed, but I haven't built up enough energy to not be too lazy to change it yet. And it's like, oh, okay.
I know.
We've had this discussion recently about the fact that it's part of human nature is
lazy.
continuously overcoming laziness in one degree or another, and that's something I do. It's like I'll sit and I mean to the outside world I work a lot, but this is not close to what I'm capable of doing if I'm energetic.
Right.
Because I have in the past worked on 2 films at the same time for 18-hour days and felt fine doing it, and I felt more energetic after that than before.
Yeah.
But it just depends. Sometimes I feel like if you're doing something and it seems like the work is tiring you out, it's probably because it's not going the way you want it to. If work is going the way you want it to, it almost energizes you to do more work afterward.
Right.
So.
How stable would you say being an artist is? I feel like it's hit or miss. I don't think it's stable at all.
And it is hit or miss in this regard, and this is something that you really have to figure. This part you're going to have to figure out without anybody else's real input, because it's not something people are comfortable telling you. When you look at becoming an artist and having a business, one of the things you have to understand is your style may not be something that sells to a lot of people.
Right.
And there are people that absolutely have a large amount of beauty in their work that appeals to a large crowd, and they can give you business advice on how they did it, and it will never work for you if your work is only going to appeal to a smaller crowd, and it isn't either A, of the same level, or B, it's just an aesthetic that people don't find appealing.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And so it is hit or miss in that it's hard to step outside of your own aesthetic to create an aesthetic that is sellable, because that is usually ends up going poorly, because you end up homogenizing work that shouldn't be, or dumbing it down for a different group of people. Not that the people who are successful are dumbing down their work. That's not what I mean at all. I mean that if I were to like make my work less of what I like, I would feel like I was simplifying it and dumbing the work down in general. But that's probably
Tailoring the work
hit
is a better way to say that.
you could,
I
you
think
could, well,
it's
I-
if you were to tailor your work to sell, it never sells that
right,
well.
yeah,
And when you go, okay, this piece sold, let's do the second piece that'll sell, and we'll get just as much money,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't work like that. It's really tailoring, not
yeah. Well,
not dumbing
not
down.
dumbing down. That's a poor choice of words.
Yes.
Like I said, I don't mean that people who sell well are creating dumb work. I don't mean that at all.
Sometimes
in relation
their
to-
aesthetic is just a prettier aesthetic that fits a broader range of people.
Right, right. And that's the hard part, is that sometimes you have to realize that it's gonna be like it was harder for me to create a
Yes.
group of people to follow the work, because I have a work that I don't like. I've had people contact me about sending me like a product or something, and then they saw the kind of work that I did, and they sort of got cold feet about it, because I do darker
Right.
work.
They see, oh, you
they
got
see
all
the-
these people on Instagram,
like,
cool.
yeah.
But then they look and see,
And it's just and it's just they have to pay attention to who their demographic is,
right, and maybe
really.
your
And
skulls and
what I do though is I do the work that I do, and then find where I need to put it. I don't try to do work tailored to a place to put it. Like, I don't do work tailored for, like, say, Spencer's. But I do work if I do something and my licensing agent, which I do have, looks at it, he goes, this would sell at Spencer's. Then I go, okay, well then you can license it. Maybe it depends on what it is, right?
right.
But it's a much harder thing for me to do, to try to just create work to make money.
Right.
I just have
And
never been
maybe-
really. I've never had the
There
talent.
could be
Of-
artists that are really good at that.
Well, I think it's a talent. I
It
think
is a
there's.
talent.
There are definitely people who have the ability to look at the market and fill a gap, and say, I'm going to do work because this is selling, and I'm going to do that. And it looks like a great example of the kind of work that's selling, and people buy it. If I do that, it tends to look like my heart's not in it, and it doesn't sell.
Right.
So I just gave up on doing that and just decided to do the stuff that I like.
Yes.
And I felt like if I did that, then other people would like it too.
Right.
There's got to be others like me out there. And over the course of time, we built it up, and
Right.
and I found
It
those
has
people.
taken 30 years, though. I mean, and your art has changed in those 30 years.
Right. There was a time when I did more romantic fantasy type stuff,
Which
mi-
hit a broader
yeah,
audience,
which-
right?
yeah,
But
which
it's
sold-
not, you
yeah.
didn't enjoy doing that.
I did more Arthurian, or Arthurian knights kind of things, and
Dragons and fairies and
yeah. And then but at a point I said, this doesn't feel like me, and so I stopped doing it.
and so we had to find your different audience.
Right. Did that make sense?
It does. Someone asked, when did you stop using construction lines?
I don't. It depends on what I'm doing. Like I said, I've done this kind of thing before, and so I know how to generate it from the little lines that I laid down. I may still use construction lines if I'm doing a bigger piece, and I just need to know where compositional elements are.
I see.
But otherwise, sometimes I'll do a small sketch and work everything on a small sketch, and then use a projector and project it up onto a larger board.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still me physically working through the composition and everything.
Right. Did you make a transition from a 9-to-5 job? I'm really looking for an opportunity to one day leave the rat race and do what I am passionate about, which is to draw. I'm so happy I caught this live stream.
Oh yeah, just what about the time you were in college?
Yeah.
I went through a series of different day jobs. Like, I did roofing. I worked at a video store. I worked at a warehouse. I did all those kinds of things. And then when I met, right about the time that Vicki and I met, I had started putting artwork up into shows. Across the country, there were always conventions every
Mhm.
weekend somewhere. And we happened to meet at one of those shows. And, from that point on, I pretty much just only did art. I don't think did I have a job after I met you? No, I did roofing and stuff. Like, I did a few jobs after
A
I
little
met
bit,
you.
yeah.
Up until about, 90? And then
it was.
I just started doing convention stuff for a long time, where I would basically do my own work and put it up in different local conventions that we would mail to across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And that's when you were working a little bit
so
with TSR and
yeah, yeah, and I did a little bit of
Student
contract
Games.
work. Yeah. So there was a
Magic.
while there, and we were in college, right? So we were still like living in dorms, and still, I did that during the time that like I was still getting money from my parents at the time, and then
Yeah.
then I started working, and I told my parents that I wasn't gonna finish school. I was just gonna start working, and I stopped taking money from them, and we started doing our own thing. Uh, and so I guess you could say I had some ease in that respect because I had a transition that happened at a time just as I was leaving college.
Mm-hmm.
If you're already established in like a 9 to 5 thing, I can see how that would be a difficult
It
thing
is hard.
to proceed
Right.
to move forward with. And for me, I would just start building those portfolio pieces, and working on
And
the
you have
pieces.
to, you also have to realize that if you quit your 9 to 5 and you're doing what you're passionate about, some people don't like the fact that what they love to do is then their moneymaker.
Right.
Right.
That's
And
probably the
so-
first hurdle that friends like I've had people that have started doing artwork after having worked regular jobs, and they didn't realize that the regular job gave them the 9 to 5 thing, right?
Yeah.
And then they could go home on the weekends and play. Whereas when you start doing kind of your own business, you don't really take time off. Even when you take time off, your head still goes back to the work that you want to get to.
Right.
So it's one of those things that you should be aware of, that you'll work harder for yourself than you will for anyone else. It's not that you're doing an easier job.
Right.
It actually will be a lot harder than working 9 to 5. But then again, there are days when I can just not work and go do something, and I don't have to really ask anybody's permission. Well, except for Vicky. So,
It's true. I'm like, what are you doing and what did you do?
it's like, yeah. So, but that happens too. But that doesn't happen right away either, right?
Yes.
So
All right,
sometimes
you have used the same pencil for this. You've not changed.
I have not
pencils?
changed pencils with this at all.
And
So
that is a Tombow Mono 100,
Mhm.
6B.
Yeah.
And you have Strathmore.
this is a
400
Strathmore
weight.
400 series medium surface drawing paper.
That was really fast. Say it slower.
Strathmore 400 series medium surface drawing paper.
Thank you.
So
Someone asked, every time I use a lot of dark values, my art seems undefined. How could you possibly resolve? How could I
That's-
possibly resolve this problem?
that's in contrast. You have dark values, but you have to have areas of contrast to balance that out,
Okay.
or to define those. Like, okay, so there's darkness here. If you come in, you can use
Yeah.
so this is dark in here, but then there are even darker lines. You just need to systematically put your areas of high contrast in it with it's all about edges, contrast, and
And not all edges are sharp.
Right.
And not everything is fuzzy.
Right.
Right?
right.
Make
And-
sure you have a kind of different textures in there.
Right, and I've done some really dark drawings, but it also has really high areas of contrast, within it.
Right.
So usually contrast is the thing that will drive people's focus and attention.
Yes.
You know.
Spider Zero says AllenWillliams is awesome.
Oh, Spider.
And all credit goes to Vicky.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, that's definitely. And all credit. You're right. You should go check out if you haven't seen Spider Zero. Simon Lee, Spider Zero, does some amazing sculpture. He also offers online classes and things like that. And if you ever get a chance to do it, it's worth 10 times the amount he gets paid to do it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Dude, man, I'm blocking people all over tonight.
what's going on?
Ah.
Crazies?
How many hours do you clock in and how many pieces do you do in a day? Oh, you don't do a... When he is working on a piece, this piece here was started on a live stream a couple weeks ago, and then you continue to work on it. So a lot of people are into I can paint 3 paintings a day, but that's not really how you work.
I'm like, I mean, if I do a drawing like this and finish it in 2 days of linear time, that's about average for something like this. But I've spent a month on a drawing before, and as little as a few hours. It just depends. Like, I don't know if you can tell the difference between these two, but like this has some very soft rendering in it, whereas this doesn't. But this might, if I take it to a finishing point. I
Right.
can go in here and like you could almost look at this as where it stands now as an underdrawing, and then I'm
Right.
going to draw another layer on top of it, And as I do that, it gets more refined and more defined in different ways. Like I could go in here now and play with these and make this really look like what's his name from Game of Thrones, Tormund, his the redheaded guy, his beard.
Oh yeah.
I love that beard look. And
Ooh, tomorrow night's Game of Thrones.
yeah, and you know I love that kind of like look for this character. You know what I mean? And what I'll do is go and play with the contrast, and he'll overall get darker. Like,
I just blocked Lucas, you guys.
Oh, what was he about?
He was just mouthing off, so
Oh, okay.
I blocked him.
So
They said he was a troll, so he's not getting to see the live feed.
we don't really engage trolls; we just block them.
Yep. Smudging. Well, you haven't smudged anything tonight.
Not on
and
this.
You've had it.
Not on this, but I do.
Sometimes he uses his.
Yeah, for my hand, I'll use this as it's just a maul stick, basically a flat maul stick. But I do use like the tortilla for doing little areas. If I want to, like say, if I wanted to make the eyes softer, I could go in there and soften it with these blending things a little bit. But the thing you have to be aware of when you're using these is if you smudge an area, it will stand out against the rest of the piece.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
And so you have to work back into it to make it integrate again, because you're actually you're using a different tool to get a different effect.
I think they were talking about your hand smudging.
Oh, that
But yes,
that
that's a
happens
good thing.
occasionally. Yeah.
Someone asked, what about 5 months on a? I would kick his ass if he spent 5 months on a drawing.
Yeah, that would not be. That would be. I mean, it would be cool because I don't know what I would do if I spent 5. It would be a big drawing for
So
sure.
there are some times that I have to look at him and go, "That is done. That piece is done."
Well, yeah, what is
Because
it?
you'll
There's
keep noodling at it and noodling at it, is what
There's
I like to say.
that old catchphrase that says there always takes 2 people to do a piece of art: the artist to do it and the person to knock them off to hit them in the head to stop them.
Oh yeah, that's
or whatever.
me. The one time I sold it out from underneath you, remember?
Yep. I had a painting that I was working on, and
just
I went to bed and she had sold it
Well,
before I
because
woke up the next day.
Because I bought the frame and it came in and you were like, "It looks so good.
Well, it did. It was a good frame.
I'll take pictures." Yes, our website does take PayPal. Our website is AllenWilliamsStudio.com. And I've been super busy since the beginning of April for Monster Palooza, and then we had a painting retreat to go to, and then now it is the last month of the kids being in school. We have 2 kids that are crazy, and it's the last month. Anybody, the last month of school is always really hard because they have loads of stuff to do, and
Yeah, they have all the this Rube Goldberg project. That they have.
Oh my God, yes.
My kids, Duncan, our son, has been building a Rube Goldberg machine for the last month.
Yeah, with other boys. We have the group project at our house, so I'm about ready to I said, I don't want the group project to happen over my birthday. Just be done with it.
Oh.
You'll have a month to do it. And what the hell were they doing last?
Over your
Sunday?
birthday, we were doing the group project.
Yes, for 6 hours. These
Yeah.
kids. Choice.
But anyway, well, it didn't stop you from getting that year older, though. That's good.
Yes.
So it still happened.
The inevitable. What paper do you use for sketches? I use Strathmore.
Yep, Strathmore 400 series. It's an inexpensive paper that is, you can. I think it has a really good tooth. This is what I use for sketches, and
Yes.
this is the way that I sketch. And if I were going to do this again, I might take this image and redraw it and use bits and pieces of what I liked about this and draw it into the next piece. But I do that a lot. I don't ever throw anything away. Sometimes I'll create more abstract shapes in drawing, and I'll keep them and save them, and I'll composite them and play with them in
Yes.
Photoshop until I come up with another idea, and then I'll draw that. But
There's stacks. I should show them the stacks of stuff over there. No, let me do that.
not right. Oh, right
No.
there. Yeah, not right now. There's stuff over there.
Oh, okay, I'm stuffing him.
Yeah, I have some.
No, someone asked if our kid plays Fortnite.
No, actually,
Neither of them.
no. Duncan is of an age where he's
He's a YouTuber.
he likes to watch a lot of the Kirk Zagat videos, the science videos, and he does have a lot of online discussion of games. He's really into game mechanics more than gaming. Actually,
More than gaming.
he's into game mechanics more than he is into gaming.
Yes.
which
All
is-
right. We have probably about 2 or 3 more minutes.
So
Do you compose on Photoshop and redraw by hand, or are some of your finished works digital?
well, most of the time, if it's my own stuff, I will compose on Photoshop sometimes, and then I'll redraw it. But if it's for usually a contract that I know they're most likely going to end up with changes, then I might finish it digitally because that just makes more sense for something that there might be, a dozen changes down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Especially concept art, where I might start them as a drawing and then play with them and iterate on them
Right.
digitally.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wait. The website is Allen Williams Studio. This is going to be up on the live feed here, on our little stories for the next 24 hours. And then I will put it up on our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/Allen Williams. You can follow us there or you can subscribe, either one. And then the videos eventually go up on our YouTube channel at Allen Williams Studio. So there you go. That's your plug.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the live stream.
Oh,
We're an awesome team.
You're very welcome.
Thank God.
Well,
We better be
the
awesome.
people who come on the live stream make it worth doing.
No.
You know what I mean? The people who come and watch and ask questions make it
That is
make
true.
it fun.
Yeah. If we were here by ourselves, I would feel
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I would. Yeah. Well,
Let me
you
talk
already know what kind of pencils I use.
I mean, because I just couldn't come up with an hour's worth without them asking questions, because I wouldn't know what to talk to you about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what. I mean, we do talk other than live.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Although when we're out to eat and we're both on our phones and people look at us
And-
side eye, like going like, oh,
We've
they're
talked
on
about
their
this.
phones.
They must think, oh, look at that poor couple. They're
They
they're
never
not talking to each
communicate.
other.
I'm like, oh my God.
I'm like,
together
we're
all
around
the
each other
time.
24 hours a day. If we want to look at our phones when we're out having dinner, then we're going to do that.
It used to be that I had a chair in my office that Alan would wake up and he'd come sit in my office.
That
to
was just
drink
too
his
much
coffee.
stress for her.
It
That was
too
too much
It's
stress
like,
for her, though.
Stop sitting behind me in my office. I need to be alone for a while.
I was just quietly, silently judging you.
That's right. Stop judging me. Damn you. Fucker.
We got to be getting closer to the end. It's after 10.
Yeah, but I didn't start till after 9.
Oh, did you?
It'll
Okay.
go, it'll sit
It'll
there
tell
and
you,
it'll
okay.
say, you have 30 seconds. Quick, say something.
So yeah,
Poignant.
this is a Seder guy.
Seder dude.
Yeah, So, and I do, by the way, in July there will be the Pan's Labyrinth book that I illustrated. It's coming out.
Yes.
It was done for Del Toro. It's going to be it's out and around sometime around the beginning of July. And
Yes.
there's like I think there's 10 illustrations in it that I did for the
Yes.
book, and it's basically a retelling of the Pan's Labyrinth tale.
Yes.
So that's coming too. So we'll let you know when it gets closer and links and everything to the actual publisher and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's Mother's Day tomorrow, so be nice.
Yes, and I actually told all the boys before they left to go get something for their mother.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they did.
And they're still coming over tomorrow.
Right on Mother's Day.
God.
Yeah, well, they got to get it done.
I know.
And they're almost done.
Oh my God. Just be forewarned if you have toddlers. Eventually they'll have to do group projects in high school.
Eventually they talk.
Yes, and then all of a
Be
sudden
forewarned. Eventually
Before-
they will try to communicate with you.
Children communicate, and then they don't be
And they
quiet.
stop. Yeah, they don't ever stop.
They don't stop.
But actually that's cool because they're actually getting pretty interesting. I know that's funny to say, but
Yeah,
that
they're-
they, as the older they get, the more interesting they get. I mean, they were really cute, and they were like little, stuffies when they were little. They were just like,
Stuffies.
put them right there, and they're just like cute. But now that they're older, they're actually having really interesting thoughts and talk and discussions and stuff. It's pretty cool. Don't you think?
Yes, I love them.
You said to a degree.
All right, there's 20 seconds left. You guys have fun. Thank you for coming out. Sorry we got a little silly at the end, and have fun.
All right, thanks for showing up.
Thank you for showing up. We will talk to you next week. We'll see you next week.